an issue of human rights, and the United States stance is unwavering. How does that make you feel, given that this bill is still in Parliament, there have been delays, and you're still waiting to see the way forward?
Well, first and foremost, Kamala Harris's opinion is of no consequence here in Ghana. Our laws and legislation...
Sam George, you say the U.S. Vice President's opinion is of no consequence to us.
It's an opinion. Everybody has one. It's like a nose. It has absolutely... I think the Parliament of Ghana is going to be guided by the opinion of the Vice President of a country that is one of the biggest abusers of human rights on human rights. Please, I mean, let's get serious. You understand me? Like I said, barely 2 hours after Kamala Harris shared her unwanted and unneeded opinion on human rights, a Ghanaian woman, 28 years old, walked into an American classroom and killed 3 American children and 3 American teachers. Children's rights are human rights. Those teachers who were gunned down based on the senseless gun violence in America have human rights. What has she done in her country to ensure the rights of Americans? Does she have the moral rights and turpitude to talk to us or give a lecture on what constitutes human rights, when in her own country the rights of children and their teachers are being trampled and destroyed in such a manner?
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Kamala Harris's trip to Africa. Okay, yeah, she's in Africa to talk about who knows what she's there to really talk about, but apparently she's in Africa. Okay, and she was asked a question by a woke New York Times reporter while over there about so-called LGBTQ rights there in Africa. Now, you guys know that this comes after Uganda basically passed a law to essentially make homosexuality and LGBTQ illegal. Okay, they saw what was going on here in the United States in regards to how far we went with this. Okay, we're not even debating gay marriage anymore, right? We went from that to now debating whether or not, kids should be able to physically or chemically castrate themselves. That's how far it's going. They say, you know what? We don't want any part of this, right? If this is what LGBTQ rights leads to, we don't want any part of this, okay? We're out, right? We're out on this, okay? This is what they said. So Kamala, again, is now doing his press conference here with an African leader. I believe this is the president of Ghana. And Ghana, their parliament or their legislative authority has some legislation that is going to restrict LGBTQ rights. And again, Kamala here is going to be confronted on this by a woke New York Times reporter because the Biden administration made a promise to call out any foreign government, okay, that passes legislation or tries to restrict LGBTQ rights. And I want you guys to listen to Kamala's reaction to this question from this reporter, because nobody should be surprised that she just gives another word salad here. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Madam Vice President, you have made clear that the message of this trip is centered on a collaborative future. At the same time, the Biden administration committed to calling out any foreign government that advanced anti-gay legislation or violates human rights. All 3 of the countries that you are visiting on this trip have advanced or proposed anti-gay legislation. Ghana has proposed a bill that would imprison those that engage in same-sex intercourse. Gay sex remains a crime in Tanzania, and same-sex relationships are outlawed in Zambia. What have you said to the president and plan to say to other leaders on this trip about this crackdown on human rights?
All right, so before she answers, I want to address this question in and of itself. Because if Kamala or Joe Biden was standing next to Xi Jinping, I guarantee you, this New York Times reporter would never ask the question of, did you lecture Xi Jinping on the Uyghur slave camp, right, that they have in their country? Okay, did you lecture him on that? Did you tell him that was wrong and that you're going to stand up against that? I guarantee they would never ask that question if that was Xi Jinping standing right there. They're only asking that question because this is an African leader who they see as not as powerful. Therefore, the United States can just impose our moral standards on them because, hey, our moral standards are allegedly more superior to theirs. Now, I'm not the type of person to throw around the accusations of white supremacy, but in this situation right here, this seems to be some woke white supremacy going on when you have liberal white journalists questioning why the U.S. is not telling black leaders how to run their countries, right? I'm just saying, to me, okay, the wokes, the liberals, always complaining about how the U.S. Interferes abroad, we don't accept other people's cultures, yada, yada, yada. But when it comes to this issue of African LGBTQ rights, they're forcing these people, they're trying to force these African leaders to adopt American values, okay, when it comes to this issue of LGBTQ. It's just funny how that works. Why can't these black folks run their country the way they want to run it, and we stay out, especially again, if we're not really going to say much about what's going on in China, we ain't going to do nothing about that. So why should we do something about what's going on in Africa? Oh, because they're not as powerful as China? Because they ain't got nukes? I'm just saying, okay? I think what's happening in Africa in regards to, cracking down LGBTQ and the way they're doing it, I'll agree with it, but I'm not going to sit here and go to their country and lecture them on how they live and whether or not what they do is right or wrong, okay? Not to say that people aren't getting killed, not to say that, bad things aren't happening, but their laws, their country, okay? I ain't got nothing to do with it. This is what they want to do. It is what it is. I don't have to agree with it, but I'm not going to go over there in a meeting and lecture them about the laws they're passing in their country and how I don't agree with it from a human rights perspective, especially considering how what's going on here in the U.S. in terms of what we're doing, especially what we're pushing on children. I don't think we really have too much room to talk about morality, okay, or to take a moral high ground over some of these other countries.
And for the president,
I'll start. I have raised this issue, and let me be clear about where we stand. First of all, for the American press who are here, you know that a great deal of work in my career has been to address human rights issues, equality issues across the board, including as it relates to the LGBT community. And I feel very strongly about the importance of supporting the freedom and supporting and fighting for equality among all people, and that all people be treated equally. I will also say that this is an issue that we consider, and I consider, to be a human rights issue, and that will not change.
Did anybody get anything away from that? Right. She said that, well, I've worked on this issue in my career, and we consider this to be a human rights issue. Okay, so did you actually address them about it or no? I mean, I'm just saying, Kamala Harris is not really giving a real answer here. Again, it's another word salad of nothing. Okay, you either addressed it with them or you didn't address it with them. I don't think you should have addressed it with them. And what you should have said to this reporter is that, look, I'm not here to discuss that. Okay, I'm not trying to tell another country how to run their country. I may disagree with what they do or some things they do, but we're not here to discuss that. Okay, that's not what I want to talk about. But apparently, again, that's what the media wants them to talk about. LGBTQ rights in Africa. Amazing stuff. Again, I thought these progressives, I thought they wanted to stay out of these other countries. Okay, I thought they wanted, white people, right? The West. I thought they wanted whites to stay away from these black folks, right? Because nothing good has ever come out of white people interacting with black people interacting with white people, according to some of these wokes. But again, when it comes to this issue right here, pushing this, they don't have any problems with it. They have no problems with this type of imperialism, cultural imperialism.
Yes. What's the name?
sorry, Zoltan Kano-Youngs of the New York Times.
Zoltan
Kano-Youngs.
Young. So thank you for the question. First of all, we don't have any such legislation in Ghana. A bill has been proposed to the Parliament of Ghana, which has all kinds of ramifications, which is not being considered by the Parliament. It hasn't been passed. So the statement that there is legislation in Ghana to that effect is not accurate. No legislation.
Support that bill?
The bill is going through the Parliament. It's going through the Parliament. The Attorney General has found it necessary to speak to the committee about it regarding the constitutionality or otherwise of several of its provisions, and the Parliament is dealing with it. At the end of the process, I will come in. But in the meantime, the Parliament is dealing with it. And I have no doubt that the Parliament of Ghana will show, as it's done in the past, first of all, its sensitivity to human rights issues, as well as to the feelings of our population, and will come out with a responsible response.
AKA, yeah, I support it. Right? that's a long-winded way of saying, yeah, I'm totally down with the bill. Right? That's what that is. Because if he was against it, he'd just come out flat out and say, nah, I'm against it. That's the easy answer. Right? The easy thing to say is, yeah, I'm against it. Right? I don't support it. Okay, this is anti-LGBTQ. It's against human rights, yada, yada, yada. The talking points are already there, right in front of you. The fact that he went in a roundabout way and wouldn't answer whether or not he supported it tells you everything you need to know about how much he actually does support it.
To be proposed. The legislation was a legislation that is being provided as a private member's bill. This is not an official legislation of the government, but it is one that is being mooted by a handful of private members. So we will see what the final outcome of it. But my understanding from a recent discussion I had with the chairman of the committee, that substantial elements of the bill have already been modified as a result of the intervention of the Attorney General. We will see what the final outcome will be, and that is the stage at which I will also have the opportunity to present.
Yeah. So again, this is a question, in my opinion, that shouldn't even been asked. Right? It shouldn't even been asked. But, this is what the woke media is concerned about. Okay? They didn't ask anything about Christian well-being in Africa, how Christians do it. Okay? They didn't ask about that. Nope. It's about, well, how the LGBTQ people doing? Again, I think it's bad, what happens when some of these countries, do this crackdown. But hey, it's their country. I'm just saying, I don't see the same concern about other groups of people, okay, in these countries, the same way I see when it comes to this one specific group of people. It's just funny how that works. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.